If your own sister stole your dream wedding dress and wore it out partying, what would you do? I know it sounds insane, but that's exactly what happened to me. And trust me, this isn't just about a dress. It's about a brutal 25-year family war, jealousy that ate away at every relationship. And the moment I finally stood up to the sister who kept me living in her shadow. I'm Madison, 32, working in digital marketing. My sister Olivia is 35, a social media influencer with nearly 100,000 followers. Since we were kids, Olivia was always the golden child, beautiful, smart, and the center of attention. And me, I was just Olivia's little sister. All my life, I learned to stay in the background, avoiding competition with her. But when I decided to marry Ethan, the amazing man I'd loved for 3 years, I thought maybe I could finally have a moment that was truly mine. I couldn't have been more wrong. Even now, my voice shakes when I think about the moment I opened my closet and saw nothing but an empty hanger. My heart dropped. "No way," I whispered, my hands trembling as I tore through the closet. But the truth was worse than anything I imagined. The dress wasn't just gone. When I checked social media, I froze. Olivia had posted photo after photo at a fancy rooftop party wearing my wedding dress. Not something similar. Not a knockoff. The exact same dress I'd saved every penny for. The one I tried on a dozen times, feeling like a princess each time. The dress with tiny hand-stitched pearls, with the vintage lace neckline that designer Aria had spent 3 months making just for me. Her caption read, "When you find the perfect outfit," with sparkling emojis. Hundreds of comments praised how stunning, glamorous, and flawless she looked. No one knew it wasn't hers. No one knew it was my wedding dress, the one I'd poured my heart into. In that moment, I realized everything I thought I knew about family was a lie. I believed that even if Olivia was jealous, she'd never cross a line that deep. I thought some boundaries were sacred. I was dead wrong. This wasn't about a stolen dress. This was about 25 years of living in the shadow of a sister who always needed the spotlight, about all the times I stayed quiet and gave in just to keep the peace. This was about the moment I decided I wasn't going to take it anymore. I'm about to tell you a story that even my closest friends couldn't believe when they first heard it. A story about how one wedding dress set off the ugliest family war of my life. A story about how I learned that sometimes, loving your family means protecting yourself from them. Get ready. Because what you're about to hear will make you question what sisterhood really means and just how far we're willing to go for the people we call family. To understand why the wedding dress became the breaking point, I need to tell you about our childhood. From as far back as I can remember, Olivia was the center of the universe in our house. The moment she started first grade, her teacher called home and told my mom, "Taylor, your daughter Olivia is exceptionally gifted. We think she should move up a grade." 3 years later, when I started at the same school, no one even remembered my name, Madison. Everyone just called me Olivia's little sister. Even when I achieved something on my own, the first reaction was always, "Oh, must run in the family, your sister's so talented too, right?" Olivia wasn't just smart. She was naturally gorgeous, with golden blonde hair and mom's bright blue eyes. By the time she was 12, a modeling scout approached our family at the mall, and just like that, Olivia became the face of local kids' clothing brands. Olivia was born to be a star. My dad, Ryan, would brag to his friends. And me? When people asked about his other daughter, Dad would just smile awkwardly and say, "Madison's the good one. She never causes trouble." Good. Never causes trouble. Those are the last words any kid wants to be defined by. But that was the role I learned to play early on. The differences between us showed up most at child beauty pageants. Olivia started competing at 7 and swept nearly every contest. Her bedroom overflowed with trophies, crowns, and sashes. Mom spent every weekend driving her to pageants, buying her dresses, and doing her makeup. "Do you want to try one, Madison?" Mom once asked me when I was 9. I nodded, excited, but she shook her head, worried. "Sweetie, you know Olivia has way more experience. I don't want you to feel disappointed." The message was clear. I wasn't good enough to compete with my sister. Even my own mother didn't believe I could succeed without Olivia paving the way. High school only made the gap impossible to ignore. Olivia wasn't just the homecoming queen. She was student body president, cheer captain, and dating the star quarterback. Teachers adored her. Classmates admired her. I was different. I focused on academics, the debate club, and writing for the school paper. My achievements were quite overlooked until graduation day, 2010. The day I'll never forget. That's when I was awarded a full scholarship to a prestigious university, something even Olivia hadn't earned. For the first time, I felt like I'd truly excelled at something. That night, my family threw a little party to celebrate. Mom and Dad invited grandparents and close friends. I wore a new navy blue dress Mom bought me, and for the first time, I felt like the spotlight was on me. Just as everyone raised their glasses, Olivia stood up with her dazzling smile. "I've got some exciting news too," she announced. A chill ran down my spine. I knew whatever came next wouldn't be good for me. "My boyfriend just proposed," she said as cheers erupted. She held out her hand, showing off a sparkling diamond ring. Instantly, every ounce of attention shifted to Olivia. My scholarship was forgotten as people crowded around to admire the ring and congratulate her. "Oh my God, why didn't you say something sooner?" Mom squealed, wrapping Olivia in a hug. "I wanted to wait for the right moment," Olivia replied, but her eyes flicked toward me, sending a message I understood all too well. Dad forgot all about toasting my scholarship and rushed to shake his future son-in-law's hand. My grandparents stopped asking about my college plans and dove into wedding talk. That's when it hit me, no matter how big my success, Olivia would always find a way to steal center stage, and my family would always let her. Later that night, after the guests left and the laughter faded, I sat alone in my room holding my scholarship certificate. The sadness cut deep. I knew then I'd never have a moment that was truly mine in that house. From that point on, I decided the only way to escape Olivia's shadow was to build a life far away. I swore I'd never compete with her again. I'd avoid the comparisons and find happiness somewhere else. But like I said from the start, I was dead wrong to think distance was enough to escape Olivia. After that painful graduation night, I made the biggest decision of my life: to leave home and build my own life. Not because I hated my family, but because I needed to figure out who I was without living in Olivia's shadow. College was the first time I got to just be Madison, not Olivia's little sister. I chose a school nearly 500 miles away, far enough to avoid surprise visits, but not so far that I cut ties completely. From the very first week, I felt the difference. When I introduced myself to my roommate Emma, she smiled and said, "Madison? That's a pretty name. Do you have any siblings?" For the first time ever, I didn't hear, "Are you Olivia's sister?" "I've got an older sister," I answered simply, without mentioning Olivia's reputation or achievements. Emma just nodded and moved on to another topic. That moment felt like a strange kind of freedom. I realized that here, I could finally just be me. 4 years of college flew by like a dream. I poured myself into my studies, joined clubs, and built a real circle of friends. Nobody knew the mess back home. They only knew Madison, the hardworking, friendly, reliable girl. When I graduated with honors in marketing, I chose to stay in that city and start working. My first job at a small ad agency didn't pay much, but the independence made me happier than any paycheck could. "Are you sure you don't want to come home?" Mom asked over the phone when I told her my decision. "I want to give this a try," I said, trying to sound cheerful. The silence on the other end told me everything. Mom wasn't happy, but this time I didn't back down. The first 3 years on my own were tough. I had to learn to budget, cook, and fix problems without help. But every challenge I overcame made me stronger. During that time, Olivia would call often to check in on me, but her questions always felt loaded. "Are you dating anyone?" she'd ask, prying. "No one special yet," I'd answer honestly. She'd laugh. "Don't be too picky, sis. At your age, you should really start getting serious." Comments like that always left me doubting myself. Even miles away, Olivia still knew how to get under my skin. Everything changed the day I met Ethan. It was a fall afternoon in 2020. I was at my favorite coffee shop near work, prepping for a big presentation. Suddenly, my laptop died and I lost an entire day's work. "No way!" I gasped, panic in my voice, catching the attention of everyone around. From the next table, a warm voice said, "What happened? Maybe I can help." I looked up and saw a man around 30 with kind brown eyes and dark hair. He held another laptop in his hands, clearly a tech guy. "My laptop just shut down and I lost everything," I explained, my voice shaking. He got up immediately. "I'm Ethan. I work in tech. Mind if I take a look?" For the next 30 minutes, Ethan worked patiently on my computer. Not only did he recover all my files, but he also installed a backup system to prevent it from happening again. Why would you help a complete stranger like that? I asked once it was fixed. He smiled modestly. Because you clearly needed it. And honestly, I wanted an excuse to say hi. That was the first time a man had shown me genuine kindness with no hidden agenda. Ethan didn't know about my family. He didn't know about Olivia. He just saw me. Madison. We started dating naturally after that. Ethan was gentle, smart, and responsible. He worked as a software engineer at a startup, loved reading and cooking, and most importantly, he listened to me. He respected me. For the first 6 months, I barely mentioned my family. He knew I had a sister, but he didn't understand why I tensed up every time I got a call from home. You seem uncomfortable whenever your family comes up, Ethan observed one night after I hung up with Mom. That's when I realized I couldn't keep hiding it. If we were serious, he needed to know. It's kind of a long story, I said, sitting beside him on the couch. I told him everything about Olivia, about growing up in her shadow, about why I had to leave. He just listened, nodding here and there, never judging. You've been really brave, Ethan said when I finished. Those words made me tear up. No one had ever called me brave before. People only ever called me good or easy. Lol. The 3 years I spent with Ethan were the happiest of my life. He never compared me to anyone. He never tried to change me. He loved Madison me for who I really was. When Ethan proposed at the park where we first met, I wasn't just saying yes to marriage. I was saying yes to the life I'd fought to build, to the best version of myself. For the first time ever, I felt confident enough to share that happiness with my family. I thought I was finally strong enough to face whatever Olivia might try. Once again, I couldn't have been more wrong. After Ethan proposed, I spent 2 weeks soaking in pure happiness before the reality of wedding planning started creeping in. Unlike most girls who dreamed about their wedding since childhood, I'd never cared much about things like the cake, flowers, or venue. But there was one thing I knew for sure: I wanted the perfect dress. What kind of dress do you want? Ethan asked as we started mapping out wedding plans. I paused, trying to find the right words. I want a dress that makes me feel like me, but the best version of me. As soon as I said it, I realized that's what I'd been chasing my whole life, the chance to be my best self without competing with anyone else. The search for the dress began with total excitement. I researched boutiques, scrolled through hundreds of photos online, and made a list of shops to visit. My best friend Harper, who'd been by my side through all my years of independence, happily volunteered to come along. This is going to be the most special day of your life, Harper said as we planned our first shopping trip. But reality turned out harder than I imagined. The first boutique was a high-end salon in the city. A middle-aged consultant named Grace welcomed us with a professional smile. What style are you envisioning? She asked as she led us to the fitting rooms. I like something classic, elegant, I told her. She nodded and brought out 5 dresses. I tried each one, standing in front of the huge mirror, hoping to feel that spark. But all I saw was a girl playing dress-up, not me. This one looks great on you, Harper encouraged as I stepped out in the 3rd gown. I shook my head. It doesn't feel right. By the end of day 1, we'd gone through 6 stores. Each place had beautiful dresses, but not a single one gave me that "this is it" feeling. The 2nd week, we widened the search. We hit small-town boutiques, family-run shops, and even vintage stores. Still nothing. I started to worry I was being too picky. Maybe I'm expecting too much, I admitted to Ethan one night after yet another failed trip. He pulled me into his arms and said gently, "You'll find the perfect dress. Just be patient." In that moment, I felt so lucky to have someone who truly understood me. The turning point came in week 3, when Harper found a boutique in the suburbs called Dreamscape Bridal, run by a young designer named Arya. It's not super well known, but the reviews are amazing, Harper said as we drove there. The shop was nothing like the fancy salons. It was small and cozy, filled with natural light pouring in through big windows. Arya, a woman in her mid-20s with dark hair and a boho vibe, greeted us like old friends. "Tell me about your dream wedding," she said, instead of asking what style I wanted. I was caught off guard, but then I opened up. I want something warm, meaningful. Not over the top, but not plain either. I want people to remember the love, not the show. Nice. Arya nodded thoughtfully, jotting notes in her little sketchbook. Got it. You want a dress that reflects you. Exactly what I hadn't been able to put into words anywhere else. She led me to the fitting room with 3 gowns. The first was too extravagant, the second was too simple. But the third, the moment I saw it, my heart skipped. This one's made with vintage French lace, Arya explained, helping me step into it. The pearls are hand-stitched, and the train is detachable. When she zipped it up and I turned to face the mirror, the world stopped. For the first time in 3 exhausting weeks, I saw myself not a girl pretending, but me. "Oh my God," Harper whispered, her hand over her mouth. The dress hugged perfectly at the bodice, with intricate lace patterns flowing down into a soft flare at the waist. The neckline was high enough to feel refined but still delicate. Tiny pearls scattered across the fabric caught the light, shimmering just enough to feel magical. "How do you feel?" Arya asked knowingly. I couldn't even speak. The emotion was overwhelming. This was it, the feeling I'd been searching for. I felt strong, beautiful, and fully myself. "This is the one," I finally managed, tears streaming down my face. Once I committed, we discussed alterations. Arya needed 3 months to finish it, tailoring the fit and adding a few personal details I requested. "The price is $4,500, she said carefully. It was the most I'd ever spent on anything, but I didn't hesitate. "I'll take it." "You sure?" Harper asked as we walked out. "That's a lot of money." I nodded firmly. "This is the most important moment of my life. I want it to be perfect." Over the next 3 months, I went in for fittings as Arya made adjustments. Each time, the dress felt more like mine. She wasn't just a designer, she became like a friend, listening and making sure every detail was flawless. "This dress is going to make you the most beautiful bride," Arya said at the final fitting. I smiled, glowing with confidence. For the first time ever, I had something that was fully mine, something no one could copy, no one could take. At least, that's what I thought. When I brought the dress home and hung it carefully in my closet, I had no idea it would be the last time I saw it in its rightful place. I had no idea that sharing this joy with my family would turn out to be the biggest mistake of my life. Back then, I was just happy. I wanted the whole world to know I'd found my perfect dress. Finding that perfect dress made me so happy that I slipped into my biggest mistake. I decided to share it with my family. After 3 years of living on my own and steering clear of Olivia's drama, I thought I was strong enough to handle anything she might try. I couldn't have been more wrong. That first call home actually went pretty smoothly. Mom sounded genuinely interested when I told her about the dress. "That sounds lovely, honey," she said. "I can't wait to see it." But when I suggested having the family over to see it in person, her tone changed. "Well, Olivia's really busy right now, expanding her social media brand. She's got a lot on her plate." And just like that, the old familiar frustration hit me. Even on the day I shared the happiest news of my life, Olivia still had to be the center of attention. 2 days later, Olivia called me directly. "Heard you found your wedding dress," she said in a sweet but loaded tone. "I'm dying to see it." "It's beautiful," I replied carefully. "I'm really happy with it." Olivia giggled. "You know I've got an eye for fashion. I could give you a few tips to make it even better." Her words made it sound like I needed her approval. Every instinct screamed at me not to, but I still invited her over that weekend. "Why would you let her come?" Harper asked when I told her. "You know she always finds a way to make it about her." "This time is different," I said firmly. "This is my wedding dress, my special day. She can't do anything about that." Even as I said it, I realized I was trying to convince myself more than Harper. That weekend, Olivia showed up with a professional camera and a whole lighting setup. "I want to take some photos of the dress for my page," she explained. "I'll tag the designer free advertising." I should have said no. But the thought of helping Arya's work get noticed made me hesitate. When I finally walked out in the dress, Olivia's first words weren't praise. She said critically, circling me. "It's fine." "Fine?" I repeated, stung. "I mean, it's nice," she backtracked. "But a little too simple for your figure. I think you need something that pops more." Her words stabbed straight through the confidence I'd built over the past 3 months. Suddenly, I doubted everything. "I think it's perfect," I said, trying to sound sure of myself. Olivia raised her hands innocently. "Oh, I didn't mean anything bad. It's just, with my fashion experience, I think you could do better." Then she started snapping photos. But instead of pictures of me, she zoomed in on the pearls, the lace, the way the skirt fell. "What's this fabric?" she asked, fingering the lace. "Vintage French lace," I said quietly, still reeling from her earlier comments. "I thought so," she said, with a strange glint in her eye. I didn't notice it then, I was too busy questioning myself. After the photos, Olivia asked to try the dress on. "I just want to see how it looks on a different body type," she said smoothly. "That way I can give you better feedback." Every red flag went off, but I still nodded. I went to change, leaving her alone with my dress. When I walked back in, my heart froze. Olivia was standing in front of the mirror in my wedding dress, and she looked stunning. "This really is gorgeous," she said, twirling slowly. She didn't make a move to take it off. Instead, she admired herself from every angle. I just stood there, paralyzed, watching my sister turn into the bride I'd dreamed of being. "Can I take a few pictures?" she asked, already holding the camera. Before I could say no, she started snapping selfies. I should have stopped her. I should have demanded the dress back. But I was in shock, seeing her wear what was supposed to be mine. "Just for comparison," Olivia explained casually, "so you can see how it looks from the outside." 15 minutes later, she finally took it off. But the damage was done. Those images of her in my gown were burned into my brain. The following week, Olivia called more than usual. "Are you sure about that dress?" she asked one night. "I'm positive," I said, though my voice didn't sound it. She sighed dramatically. "I just want you to have the perfect wedding. I'd hate for you to regret it later." Her words chipped away at me. I went back to Arya's shop just to try the dress on again, desperate to recapture the joy I'd felt the first time. "You seem worried," Arya said as she zipped me up. I told her about Olivia's reaction. She shook her head firmly. "This dress is perfect for you. Don't let anyone make you doubt that." But Olivia's seeds of doubt had already started growing. 2 weeks before the wedding, Olivia came by again, this time with a fashion magazine. "Look at this," she said, flipping to a spread of extravagant gowns. "These are this year's trends. Does your dress really fit in?" The pages were filled with glittering crystals, dramatic skirts, and over-the-top designs. Suddenly, my simple, elegant dress felt plain. "I'm not saying yours is bad," Olivia added smoothly. "I just want you to know there are other options." Harper had warned me. Ethan had voiced his concern. Even Arya had told me to be careful. But I ignored them all. I wanted to believe Olivia had changed, that she truly cared about my happiness. I wanted to believe sisterhood would win out over jealousy. In that moment, I made the most naive mistake of my life. I trusted Olivia at the most important time of all. A week later, when I opened my closet to find the dress gone, I finally understood. All her concern had just been the opening moves of a ruthless plan I never saw coming. The final week had arrived. After months of Olivia's constant jabs making me question my choice, I decided to try the dress one last time just to remind myself why I'd fallen in love with it. Maybe seeing myself in that gown would erase all the doubt she'd planted in my head. Monday morning, I woke up buzzing with nerves. Only 4 more days until I'm married to Ethan. 4 more days until I walk down the aisle in the dress of my dreams. "You're doing the final fitting today, right?" Ethan asked over breakfast. "Yeah." I smiled, feeling a little lighter. "I just want to make sure everything's perfect." As soon as Ethan left for work, I called Harper. "We're still on for 10? "Yep," she said, her voice bright. "You're going to look like a princess." I went into the bedroom, excited and anxious all at once. This was the last time I'd wear my dress before the wedding, a sacred ritual every bride looks forward to. But when I opened the closet, the blood drained from my body. The hanger was empty. "No," I whispered, hands shaking as I tore through the clothes. I checked every corner of the closet. The guest room, the bathroom, even the storage bins. Nothing. For 20 frantic minutes, I ripped my apartment apart, checking ridiculous places like under the bed and behind the couch. Still nothing. Maybe I sent it out for cleaning, I muttered desperately, but I knew I hadn't. Arya had been clear dry clean only, after the wedding. And then the dread hit me like a punch to the gut. Someone had taken it. But who? I called Harper, my voice trembling. "We have to cancel the fitting. I can't find my dress." "What do you mean you can't find it?" she cried. "Where was it?" "In my closet. Always. But it's gone." Harper rushed over to help me search. and together we tore through the apartment again, even the fridge, even the shoe rack, grasping at anything. "Madison," Harper finally said after an hour, "did you give anyone a spare key?" Her question hit like lightning. 2 weeks ago, when Olivia visited, I'd handed her my spare so she could let herself in before I got home. "Olivia," I whispered, my stomach dropping. "She wouldn't," Harper said, but even she didn't sound convinced. I suddenly remembered every question Olivia had asked about the dress, the way she'd photographed it from every angle, the look in her eyes when she wore it. All the pieces locked together into a horrifying picture. With trembling hands, I pulled up Olivia's social media. The very first photo on her feed made my heart stop. Olivia was standing on a rooftop in my wedding dress. Not something similar. Not a knockoff. My dress. The one I'd worked months to afford. The one Arya had hand-sewn every pearl onto. She posed like a runway model. Champagne glass in hand. City lights sparkling behind her. The caption read, "When you find the perfect outfit for a special night." "Oh my God," Harper gasped. "She wore your wedding dress to a party." I scrolled, each picture worse than the last 12 in total, all of Olivia basking in my gown. She'd tagged the venue, a 5-star downtown hotel. Posted the night before at 11 p.m., while I was at home preparing for the biggest week of my life. And the comments? They gutted me. "Olivia, you look stunning. Where's this dress from? It's gorgeous. You're like a princess." Slaying as always. 300 likes. 50 comments. Not a single person knew that the dress wasn't hers. "I'm calling her," Harper snapped, shaking with fury. With shaking fingers, I dialed. After 3 rings, Olivia picked up. "Oh hey Madison," she said casually, like nothing had happened. "You took my wedding dress," I said, my voice breaking. A pause, then a light laugh. "What are you talking about?" "I saw the photos. You wore my wedding dress to a party." She sighed, annoyed. "Madison, I just borrowed it for one night. I figured you wouldn't mind." "Wouldn't mind?" I exploded. "That's my wedding dress. I'm wearing it in 4 days." "Don't be so dramatic," she snapped. I was careful. The dress is fine. The world spun around me. Not just because she'd taken it, but because she truly believed it wasn't wrong. "Where is it?" I demanded. "At my place," she said calmly. "You can come pick it up this afternoon." "This afternoon?" I repeated in disbelief. "Do you realize today was supposed to be my final fitting?" She hesitated, then said, "Oh, I forgot. But you can reschedule." And that's when it hit me. This wasn't a slip-up. It wasn't some careless decision. It was deliberate, calculated. A plan to ruin my day. "I'm coming to get it now," I said and hung up. Harper and I drove straight to Olivia's, my heart pounding in my chest. Nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to see. Olivia answered the door, looking completely unbothered. "Where's the dress?" I snapped. "In my room," she said, leading us inside. There it was, hanging limply from the closet door. My heart shattered. The bodice was stained, probably champagne. The train had a small tear, likely from dragging across the floor. Worst of all, 5 pearls were missing from the neckline, leaving ugly loose threads behind. "You ruined it," I whispered, tears spilling down my face. Olivia shrugged. "It's just a few little marks. You can fix it." "Fix it?" I turned on her. "My wedding is Wednesday. How am I supposed to fix it in time?" For the first time, she looked slightly rattled. "Well, you could postpone the wedding." And in that instant, I saw it clearly. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't thoughtlessness. This was sabotage. My sister hadn't just stolen my dress, she had tried to destroy the most important day of my life. After I took the ruined dress back from Olivia's place, I came home completely shattered. Harper had to drive because my hands were shaking too hard to hold the wheel. The dress lay lifeless in the back seat like a corpse. Every stain and tear a piece of evidence of her betrayal. "You need to call your family," Harper said as we sat in my living room, staring at the damaged gown. "I don't even know what to say," I whispered. "They need to know what she did," Harper insisted. "Olivia can't just get away with this." Right then, my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. My heart pounded as I answered. "Sweetheart," Mom said, her voice worried. "Olivia called home. She said you're upset about her borrowing your dress." The second I heard those words, I knew exactly what Olivia had done. She'd gotten to Mom first, spinning her version of the story. Borrowing? I repeated, fury rising. Do you even know what she did? Mom sighed. Honey, I know you're stressed about the wedding, but Olivia only borrowed it for one night. One night? I shouted. Did you even see the photos? She wore my wedding dress to a party. She explained, Mom said, defending her. She just wanted to help promote your designer. With Olivia's followers, that's valuable exposure. I couldn't believe it. Even with proof in her face, Mom was still excusing her. The dress is ruined, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. Stains. A tear. Pearls missing. My wedding is Wednesday. Silence. Then Mom said, You can get it fixed. Or maybe you could push the wedding back a little. It felt like a slap. My own mother suggested postponing my wedding instead of holding Olivia accountable. Do you have any idea how much we've spent on this wedding? I whispered. Madison, don't blow this out of proportion, Mom snapped. Family is family. Olivia didn't mean any harm. I hung up without another word. Staring at the ruined gown, I knew this fight was bigger than me. 15 minutes later, Dad called. Madison, can you tell me what's going on? He asked tiredly. I told him everything from the first time Olivia tried the dress to finding it missing, to seeing it trashed at her place. He listened quietly. I understand you're upset, he said finally. But maybe this was just a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? I exploded. Did you see the pictures? She wore my wedding dress like it was hers? He went silent for a long time. I'll talk to Olivia. Talk to her? I repeated. What about making her apologize? Or pay for the damage? Madison, we're family, Dad said. I don't want this to tear us apart. After I hung up, I called Aunt Grace, Mom's sister, the one person who always told it like it was. Aunt Grace, I need to tell you what just happened, I said as soon as she picked up. When she heard the story, her reaction was instant. What? Olivia did that? You believe me? I asked, relief washing over me. Of course I do, she snapped. This isn't the first selfish stunt she's pulled, but this time she's gone way too far. Finally, someone was on my side. What do I do now? I asked. You tell everyone the truth, Aunt Grace said firmly. I'll call your mom and make sure she hears my opinion loud and clear. Within the hour, phones across the family were lighting up. The news spread like wildfire, splitting everyone into sides. Dad's sister, Aunt Emily, called me. Madison, I'm furious. Olivia crossed a line. But then Mom's old friend Beth called. Sweetheart, maybe you should forgive her. Family matters more than a dress. A dress? I snapped. This is my wedding dress. Even the cousins jumped in. Emma, Aunt Grace's daughter, posted a long social media rant. There are lines you don't cross, even with family. Stealing your sister's wedding dress is one of them. Almost immediately, Jake, Aunt Beth's son, commented, Family should forgive each other. Don't make a big deal out of something small. By the time Ethan got home, I was sitting on the floor beside the dress, phone buzzing nonstop with calls and texts. What happened? He asked, kneeling beside me. I told him everything. His face went pale when he saw the damage. I'm calling Olivia, he said, furious. No, I stopped him. I don't want you dragged into this. Madison, this is about us, he said firmly. She attacked our wedding. I'm not staying out of it. Before he could dial, my phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. Stop making this a big deal. I'll pay to fix the dress. I read it aloud. Ethan shook his head. She still doesn't get it. You know what the worst part is? I whispered, tears spilling. My family is split. Half defending her, half defending me. Our wedding has turned into a battlefield. Ethan pulled me into his arms. We'll get through this. You've got me and the people who truly love you. 1. That night, I got nearly 20 calls and countless messages. By then, the battle lines were clear. Team Madison, Aunt Grace, Aunt Emily, Cousin Emma, Cousin David, plus a handful of family friends. Team Olivia, Mom, Aunt Beth, Cousin Jake, and the people who'd adored Olivia since childhood. Neutral. Dad and a few others are trying to keep the peace. Tuesday morning, I rushed the gown to an emergency tailor. After inspecting it, she shook her head. We need at least a week, she said. The stain's tough, and those missing pearls have to be special ordered. Which meant I wouldn't have a wedding dress. Not mine, not the one I'd dreamed of. But the worst part wasn't the ruined gown. I realized my family had never truly had my back. Even with undeniable proof of Olivia's cruelty, half of them still chose her over me. Tuesday night. Staring at the wrecked dress one last time, I knew the truth. This war had only just begun. Tuesday night, sitting in my apartment with a ruined dress and a guest list split down the middle, I made the biggest decision of my life. I wasn't going to let Olivia win. I wasn't canceling the wedding. And most importantly, I wasn't going to play into her drama the way she wanted. "You've got a plan, don't you?" Ethan asked when he saw me sitting in silence for too long. That's when the idea started forming. If I can't fix the old dress, I'll find a new one. "Oh, Madison, it's 2 days away," he reminded me. "How are you going to find a wedding dress that fast?" "I'll figure it out," I said, surprising myself with the strength in my voice. "But you have to promise not to tell anyone, not even my family." Ethan nodded. "So, this is a secret mission?" "Exactly," I said. "I want everyone to think I'm broken and helpless, but really, I'm setting up a surprise." Wednesday morning, the wedding day, I was up at 5 a.m. making calls. First was Aunt Grace. "I need your help," I said, "but you've got to promise absolute secrecy." When I told her the plan, she practically cheered. "Of course I'll help. Olivia needs to be taught a lesson." Next was Harper. "You're insane," she said after hearing it. "But I love it." "What do we do first?" "Find a dress," I said. "I remember a designer named Kai who handles emergencies. Can you drive me there?" While waiting for Harper, I called Ethan's mom, Diana. She'd worked in fashion, and most importantly, she'd never been a fan of Olivia. "Madison," she said the moment she heard my voice. "Ethan told me about the dress. I'm furious." "I've got a plan," I told her, "but I need your help." After listening, she laughed out loud. "Count me in. Olivia's about to learn what consequences feel like." Kai's studio was tucked away in an artsy side street. He was sipping coffee and reading the paper when we walked in. "What brings you here?" he asked. "We need a miracle," I said bluntly. "I need a wedding dress in 6 hours." He froze, coffee halfway to his lips. 6 hours? You're joking." I laid out the whole story, the stolen gown, the sabotage, the secret plan. His skeptical look slowly softened. "This is the wildest thing I've ever heard," Kai said. "And I hate women like your sister. So, can you help me?" I asked, holding my breath. He stood and led us to the back. "I've got 5 sample gowns finished. Try them." "No." The first was too poofy. The second is too tight. But the third, when I stepped out, Harper and Kai both gasped. "Oh my God," Harper whispered. "You look like a goddess." This dress was nothing like the old one. No lace, no pearls. Sleek white silk, modern cutouts, shimmering sequins. It hugged me in all the right places, powerful, bold, unforgettable. "This makes you look fierce," Kai said. "Not the sweet traditional bride. Strong. Unstoppable." That's exactly what I want," I said, feeling a rush of confidence. "I want to look powerful." Kai worked on quick alterations while Harper and I planned the rest. "We need someone to capture reactions," Harper said. "Especially Olivia's." "Emma can do it," I said. "She's got a professional camera and she's on my side." Next, I called Pastor Michael, who was officiating. He'd known my family for years and had already shown support for me. "Madison," he said, "I heard about the dress. I'm so sorry." "Pastor, I've got a plan," I explained. "I just need your help during the ceremony." He chuckled after hearing it. "Count me in. Sometimes justice needs a stage." That afternoon, I gathered my allies Aunt Grace, Aunt Emily, Emma, and Diana at my apartment. "You all have to promise absolute secrecy," I told them. "This only works if Olivia and her crew don't see it coming." Aunt Grace grinned. "I've been waiting years for this." I handed out roles. "Grace, you'll help me with hair and makeup. Emily, coordinate with the photographer. Emma, capture every reaction. Diana, make sure guests are seated in the right spots." "What about me?" Harper asked. "You're on Olivia watch," I said. "I need to know exactly what she's doing and how she reacts." For 2 hours, we mapped out every detail. The excitement in the room felt electric. "Are you sure about this?" Diana asked as she left. "This is going to be a very public showdown." I looked out the window toward Olivia's side of the city. She turned my wedding into a battleground. Now I'm choosing how to fight. That night, Olivia texted me. Heard you're still having the wedding on time. Hope you found a replacement dress. I did, I replied. Is it nice? She pressed. You'll see tomorrow. The truth was, I could sense her nerves. She wanted me broken, cancelled, or stumbling down the aisle in some pathetic backup dress. The fact that I stayed calm? It rattled her. The plan's working, Harper said when I showed her the texts. She's nervous. Good. I smiled for the first time in 3 days. Let her sweat. That night, sitting with Ethan, I felt strangely at peace. Do you regret this plan? He asked. I shook my head. Not at all. For the first time, I'm controlling the situation instead of just surviving it. I'm proud of you, he said, pulling me close. You've become so strong. And right then, I realized no matter how it played out tomorrow, this plan had already changed me. I wasn't the timid sister in Olivia's shadow anymore. I was Madison at her strongest. And tomorrow, everyone would see it. The rehearsal dinner was at the upscale restaurant our families had booked 6 months ago. It was the last time everyone from both sides would gather before the ceremony. It was also the perfect stage for my plan. I arrived late on purpose, after I knew everyone was there and relaxed. Walking in wearing a simple black dress, I felt the stares, curious, pitying. They all knew about the wedding dress scandal, and plenty of them were waiting to see how I'd handle it. Madison! Mom, Taylor, jumped up when she saw me. You're here. One look at her eyes and I saw the fear. She was worried I'd make a scene. Hi everyone, I said with a calm smile, taking my seat. Olivia sat at the next table in a blazing red dress, makeup flawless. She gave me a victorious little smile. You look pretty good, she said, sounding oh so concerned. I hope you're over the whole dress thing. Don't worry about me, I said lightly. I've handled it. All through dinner, I stayed relaxed and cheerful. I chatted with guests, thanked them for coming, and acted like a happy bride days after her wedding. No one could tell I was setting up a showdown. At 8:30, right on cue, Aunt Grace tapped her glass. Everyone, she called out, I think this is a good moment for Madison to say a few words. The room went quiet. Every eye turned to me. I could feel the tension. Half the room expected a sweet thank you speech. The other half braced for drama. I stood, heart pounding but mind crystal clear. Thank you all for being here tonight. I paused, letting my gaze sweep the room. Olivia watched me, curious, maybe wondering why I was so calm. As you all know, I said evenly, this week has brought some complications with my wedding prep. Restless shifting. Dad, Ryan, shot me a warning look, hoping I wouldn't go too far. I want to share the truth about what happened, I said, and the air in the room went still. Right then, Emma started setting up her camera in the corner. Just like we planned. She'd capture every reaction. Last Monday, I invited my sister, Olivia, to see the wedding dress I spent 3 months of pay on. I began, steady and clear. Olivia sat up straighter, eyes alert. I shared that joy with her. I even let her try it on so we could see how it looked. I thought it would be a sweet bonding moment. A few guests nodded. Normal sister stuff. But this Monday, the day of my final fitting, I opened my closet and the dress was gone, I said, my voice tightening. Not with fear. With feeling. Whispers rippled through the room. Some people looked at Olivia. At first I thought I misplaced it, I went on. Then I checked social media and saw this. I signaled to Aunt Emily. She fired up the portable projector. Photos of Olivia wearing my wedding dress at a fancy rooftop party filled the white wall. The room exploded. Gasps, murmurs, chairs scraping as everyone turned to Olivia. No way, Aunt Beth blurted, hand over her mouth. Oh my God, James, one of Dad's friends, shook his head. Olivia stood, face flushed. Madison, what are you doing? I'm sharing the truth, I said calmly. Everyone deserves to know what happened. You're blowing this up, Olivia snapped. I already explained. You explained? I kept my voice even. Let me show everyone what explained looks like. I gave the next cue. More slides went up. Olivia's texts, including the one that said, Stop making this a big deal. I can pay to fix the dress. Pay to fix it? Aunt Grace shot to her feet, furious. You think stealing your sister's wedding dress is a small thing? I didn't steal it, Olivia snapped back. I borrowed it. Borrowed without asking, Aunt Emily said. Borrowed a wedding dress to go party? I brought out the last proof. And here's the condition of the dress when I got it back. Images of the champagne stain, the rip in the train, and the missing pearls filled the wall. The room went dead silent. You destroyed Madison's wedding dress. Diana, my future mother-in-law, said, voice like ice. It was an accident, Olivia protested. I didn't mean to. An accident? I echoed, letting my emotion show for the first time. Taking my wedding dress to a party without permission was an accident. Dad stood, trying to step in. Girls, let's all take a breath. No, Dad, I said, steady and firm. I've been taking a breath for 25 years. I took a breath when she grabbed the spotlight at every one of my milestones. I took a breath when she turned my graduation night into her engagement announcement. Not this time. Mom started to cry. Madison, don't talk about your sister like that. Mom, I said, voice shaking with truth. My whole life you've told me not to talk about my sister like that. A real sister would never do what Olivia did to me. Some guests stood up on my side. Uncle Michael, Dad's brother, spoke first. Madison's right. What Olivia did is unacceptable. This is how a good sister behaves? Aunt Grace asked, eyes locked on Mom. Feeling cornered, Olivia struck back. You're all forcing Madison to turn on her family. I'm her sister. A good sister doesn't steal a wedding dress, Diana said coldly. A good sister apologizes instead of making excuses, Uncle Michael added. Olivia looked around and saw that the room had turned. Even Beth, her lifelong defender, shook her head. You don't get it, Olivia shouted. Madison is always overly sensitive. I just borrowed it for one night. To party and post it online like it was yours? I asked. To ruin it 2 days before my wedding? There was nowhere for her to run. She couldn't deny the evidence. She couldn't play the victim with the truth on the wall. You don't know what it's like to live under the pressure to be perfect, she burst out. You just sit there and get everyone's sympathy. The words hit like bullets, exposing the jealousy she'd hidden for years. Pressure to be perfect? I said quietly. Do you know what it's like to live in your shadow? To never be enough in this family's eyes? The restaurant went silent. People finally saw the real dynamic between us. I'm sorry for what happened, Mom said at last, tears falling. I didn't know. You didn't want to know, I said softly. There's a difference. Olivia glanced around one last time and saw the support was gone. Even Beth looked disappointed. I don't have to listen to this, Olivia said, grabbing her purse and heading for the door. I won't come to the wedding if everyone's going to treat me like a criminal. The room held its breath, waiting to see what I'd do. That's your choice, I said, calm and clear. But the wedding will go on, with you or without you. Olivia paused at the door, maybe hoping I'd beg her to stay. When I didn't move, she shoved it open and stormed out. After she left, the room slowly settled. A few guests came to hug me and apologized for not seeing it sooner. You were very brave, Pastor Michael said, offering his hand. And for the first time in 25 years, I felt light. I had finally told the truth. 6 months after the wedding, I sat on the balcony of our new apartment with Ethan, sipping morning coffee and looking out at the city. Life had changed completely since the day I finally stood up to Olivia, but those changes weren't as simple as I once imagined. Do you regret it? Ethan asked, like he could read my mind. Regret what? I said, even though I knew exactly what he meant. Exposing Olivia, splitting the family. His voice was gentle. I sat quietly for a while, thinking about the question, the same one I'd asked myself every day for the last 6 months. You know, I began. At first I thought I'd feel nothing but satisfied, but it's been more complicated than that. The first months after the wedding were some of the hardest of my life. The family had officially fractured, and the fallout from that public showdown spread further than I ever thought it would. Mom, Taylor, didn't speak to me for the first 3 months. Not because she didn't believe me, but because she couldn't accept that I'd aired family laundry in front of everyone. Every call with Dad was stiff, tense. Did you really need to do that in front of the whole family? He asked during our first conversation after the wedding. They needed to know the truth, I said. I was tired of hiding it. He sighed heavily. But now the family's broken, Madison. Dad, I said, voice shaking. The family was broken a long time ago. I just made it visible. Olivia vanished from family life altogether. She skipped the wedding like she'd threatened, then cut ties with almost everyone. Her social media went silent for 2 months, something that had never happened in over a decade. "Where's Olivia?" I asked Aunt Grace during one call. "She moved in with a friend in another state," she said. "She says she needs time to find herself." Hearing that, part of me felt guilty. No matter what she did to me, knowing she'd run away from the city still left me unsettled. But there were positive shifts, too. People in the family who'd stayed silent for years finally began sharing their own stories. Emma called me one night. "Do you know what Olivia did to you back when you were 16? "What?" I asked. "You had a crush on that boy, remember? You were too shy to say anything. Olivia said she'd help you, but instead she dated him herself." I froze. I never knew. "There's a lot you don't know," Emma said softly. "But now people are finally speaking up." Story after story surfaced. Aunt Emily recalled how Olivia accidentally spilled orange juice all over her daughter's party dress. Cousin David admitted that Olivia once borrowed money from him and never paid it back. A clear pattern came into focus. "Why didn't anyone say anything before?" I asked Aunt Grace. "Because your mom always protected her," she said. "And the rest of us didn't want to stir up trouble." Oh, that's when I realized my decision had cracked open a long overdue conversation in the family. 3 months after the wedding, the unexpected happened. Mom called. "Madison," she said, her voice tired. "I want to talk." We met at a small cafe near her house. When she walked in, I was shocked. She looked older, lines etched deep around her eyes. "Do you know I've been talking to people in the family?" she began. "I've heard," I said carefully. She let out a long sigh. I was wrong. So wrong. The words hit like lightning. I'd never once heard her admit fault in how she treated Olivia and me. "I always thought I was protecting the family by keeping the peace," she said. "But really, I let Olivia hurt a lot of people. Why did you always defend her?" I asked the question that had haunted me for years. She sat quietly for a long moment. "Because Olivia reminded me of myself. Pretty, noticed, but insecure underneath. I thought I understood her." "Oh, and me?" I asked softly. "You reminded me of your father. Strong, independent, less needy. I thought you'd be fine without me worrying." Hearing that broke something inside me. Mom had loved us differently, and that difference had shaped my entire life. "I'm sorry," she said, tears falling. "I'm sorry for letting you suffer in silence all those years. It was the first time in my life that I saw my mom cry for me." "So what now?" I asked quietly. "Now I want to learn to be a better mom," she said, "if you'll let me." By month 4, Olivia's social media flickered back to life, but it was different. Gone were the flashy outfits and self-congratulatory captions. Instead, she posted about therapy, about a journey of self-discovery. "Has she reached out to anyone?" I asked Aunt Grace. "She called me once," Aunt Grace said. "Said she's working on her issues." "Did she mention me?" I asked, unsure if I wanted to know. "She admitted she hurt you," Aunt Grace said gently, "but she's not ready to face you yet." That left me feeling both relieved and disappointed. Relieved she'd owned up. Disappointed, she still couldn't face me. Through it all, Ethan was my anchor. He saw every side of me: anger, guilt, relief, sadness. "Do you regret marrying into this mess?" I asked him one night. "I didn't marry your family," he said. "I married you. And you've become the strongest woman I know." Hearing that, I realized that as painful as the fight with Olivia had been, it had freed me from a lifetime of silence. So 6 months later, sitting on that balcony with Ethan, I could finally answer him honestly. "I don't regret it," I said. "I regret waiting so long to stand up for myself." "And now?" he asked. "Now I feel free," I said after a pause. "For the first time in my life, I'm not living by someone else's script." "And Olivia?" he asked softly. "I hope she changes," I admitted. "But I know I can't wait on that to be happy." That night, after Ethan fell asleep, I opened the journal I'd started after the wedding and wrote, "Maybe the biggest thing I've learned is that loving your family doesn't mean accepting their toxic behavior. Sometimes love means setting boundaries. Sometimes it means saying no to the people we love most." I don't know what the future holds for Olivia. Maybe we'll never have a normal sister relationship. But I know this: I'll never go back to being the quiet, small version of myself again. Sometimes war is what it takes to have peace. And sometimes division is the first step to healing. I set down the pen and looked out at the sleeping city. Somewhere out there, Olivia might be facing her choices. Somewhere, Mom might be figuring out how to be fairer. And here, I had finally learned how to love myself.